Welcome. Welcome to the Everything Podcast Season 2, Episode 58. So in this episode will be my review of Series 3, Episode 6 of Only Murders in the Building. It will then be followed by the one killer question for that episode. We've got some Neighbours news, there is a Doctor Who related announcement, and we will finish off with the feature for this episode, which is titled Find There. So if you watched episode 51 should be, depending, yeah I think it's episode 51, then you'll know what Find There is. If you didn't, don't worry, because I'll be doing a recap of the rules. As I said, that'll be the last segment of this show. But before all of that, we're going to start off with what's to come in tomorrow's episode and the episodes going forward, which means I'll be reviewing Series 4 and the 2009 specials, as well as the 2007 Christmas special of Modern Doctor Who. So in this episode, I'm going to go through all of the transmission dates, so in tomorrow's episode I can go straight into the review. So we start off with Voyage of the Damned, which was broadcast on the 25th of December 2007, followed by the Series 4 opener titled Partners in Crime, which released on the 5th of April 2008, followed a week later by The Fires of Pompeii. Then on the 19th of April 2008 was Planet of the Ood. 26th of April 2008 was The Sontaran Stratagem, and Poison Sky was transmitted on the 3rd of May 2008. Then a week later was The Doctor's Daughter on the 10th of May 2008. Then a week later was The Unicorn and the Wasp, which was transmitted on the 17th of May 2008. Then 2 weeks later was Silence in the Library, which was broadcast on the 31st of May 2008, followed by Forest of the Dead, which was broadcast on the 7th of June 2008. Then a week later was Midnight, 14th of June 2008. Turn Left was transmitted on the 21st of June 2008, followed a week later by The Stolen Earth, which was broadcast on the 28th of June 2008, followed by the Series 4 finale titled Journey's End on the 5th of July 2008. Then we are into the 2009 Christmas specials, which started off with The Next Doctor on the 25th of December 2008, followed by Planet of the Dead on the 11th of April 2009. And there's a big gap with The Waters of Mars on the 15th of November 2009, followed by the two-part finale to the 10th Doctor, with The End of Time Part 1 on the 25th of December 2009, and a week later with The End of Time Part 2 on the 1st of January 2010. Next up is back to what the bulk of this episode is going to be, and that is Only Murders in the Building. I'm going to start off with my review for Only Murders in the Building, Series 3, Episode 6. So in this episode, Howard narrates. Howard explains the ghost of Gideon Gooseberry. Oliver looks through a book he found on Loretta's bookshelf containing articles about Ben. Charles talks to a fish named President McKinley. Howard knocks on Mabel's apartment, claims he needs to confess that he killed Ben Glenroy. Howard is on the brink of a mental breakdown. Mabel has assembled Charles and Oliver after Howard confesses that he killed Ben. Based on Howard's story of events, Charles believes a ghost killed Ben. Howard believes he killed Ben because he didn't sweep the stage floor, to do with the ghost of Gideon Gooseberry. Tobit, played by Jesse Williams, he exits from Mabel's shower. Charles believes this is a spoiler alert or a plot twist. Mabel explains that this is wrong on both counts. Howard is now in the middle of a mental breakdown. Mabel, Charles and Oliver huddle, discussing Howard's timeline of events. Tobit and Mabel discuss their theory about Ben's doctor. Right in front of Charles and Oliver, Tobit leaves. Charles tells Mabel and Oliver that Joy and him broke up. Charles overcompensates for his true feelings. Oliver is covering for Loretta, repeating effing pig on their date on multiple occasions. Charles and Oliver explain to Mabel that Tobit is prohibited or forbidden from joining them with the case. Charles, Mabel and Oliver hug. Howard interrupts. Howard, Charles, Oliver and Mabel enter the theatre when Ben was murdered the first time before coming back to life in Series 3, Episode 1, before being killed again at the end of Series 3, Episode 1, or pushed down a lift shaft. Oliver tries to cover for Loretta again. Charles is accompanied by President McKinley, the fish. Howard bursts into Katie's office, briefly followed by Mabel, Charles and Oliver. Oliver volunteers Howard to help Katie safety check stage after Charles nearly gets killed by 2 sandbags. Oliver covers for Loretta a third time. Charles accuses Mabel of having a hot new boyfriend in the form of Tobit. Mabel confesses that Tobit is not her boyfriend. Mabel, Oliver and Charles separate. Oliver rubs off effing pig off of Ben's mirror because he believes that Loretta killed, or is definitely the prime suspect for Ben's murder, which was written on the night Ben was murdered twice. Charles pours President McKinley into a toilet unit which is full of water, which inadvertently locks them in because they're in a props cupboard in the theatre. Katie accuses Howard of being irrelevant to Oliver's show. Howard explains his acting ambitions, which inspires Katie to explain that she wants to be a director. Charles goes for a wee and flushes the loo, temporarily forgetting that President McKinley is a fish. Well, he knows that he's a fish, but he's part of the toilet, so nearly kills him. Charles somehow manages to retrieve President McKinley. Jerry, who is an old associate of Oliver's, attempts to kidnap him because he doesn't realise who he is, and tells him what really happened on opening night. Jerry reveals he is a puppet director. Mabel and Tobit run into Jonathan, who is the boyfriend of Howard and was the understudy for Ben, but is now the leading man, as Ben is now dead, who explains he suffers from anxiety. Ben's doctor prescribes Jonathan with a mixture of medicine, which he refers to as the leading man's cocktail. Charles nearly kills himself by Charles nearly kills himself by unintentionally activating the fog machine. Jerry explains that Ben and Loretta had an argument on opening night, which results in Charles punching Ben. Katie directs Howard to include Gideon and not... I can't read my handwriting, bear with me a second. And not having the ghost of Gideon Gooseberry haunt or doom the show. Their show, Charles Oliver's directed show. Charles and President McKinley escape the cupboard. Oliver, Charles and Mabel have an explosive argument, which results in Mabel quitting the podcast as well as Charles quitting the show. Oliver reveals that Charles punched Ben on opening night. Mabel reveals Cindy Canning asked her to become partners. Oliver accuses Mabel of not having a grown-up job. Mabel and Tobit officially become partners in the case of Ben's murder. And that is it for my review of Only Murders in the Building, Series 3, Episode 6. It is now time for the official after show of Only Murders in the Building, titled One Killer Question. Here is One Killer Question for Series 3, Episode 6 of Only Murders in the Building.
North and south. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you. I was busy exorcising. I'm your host, Michael Cyril Creighton, and this is One Killer Question. And there he was, in his signature cap and red coat. I said, Gideon Gooseberry! Theater isn't the only thing that's haunted. Mabel, Charles, Oliver, and Howard, they're all facing dark spirits of their own. So, Allison, Gwyn, and DDR, I have a question.
Yes.
Which character is the most haunted?
I feel like Charles has bad luck.
Yes.
100%.
It's most self-sabotaging out of the whole group, I feel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I think he's haunted by past failed relationships.
Right.
You know, he says, I think in like season 1, I spend a year enjoying it and then 4 years thinking of a way to get out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So he has convinced himself, perhaps, that he's not worthy of or meant to have a healthy relationship, so he keeps sabotaging them.
I mean, Charles is also haunted by Brazos, I think. He continually like lives in that space, and he's afraid to move on to do this Broadway show.
That's smart. Like, honestly, what's more haunting than a one-time success?
Yeah.
And then,
Is this
is ours?
it?
Is this it? Oh, no.
Do I need to?
But let's talk about who's the real haunted person in this whole episode, and that is Mr. Jerry Blau.
Jerry Blau.
Wow.
The haunted look in his face when he tells any kind of story. And
Yes.
he's roasting a rat on the
Yes.
living in the attic of a
Yeah.
that's haunted.
Was supposed to be directing the play that he's now living in the attic above.
That's some trauma.
Yeah,
He's
great.
seen some shit.
Yeah. Jerry Blau has seen some shit.
Yeah.
Now, could he potentially be Oliver's ghost of Christmas future? Are we looking, is Jerry Blau what Oliver could turn into, do you think?
You're so smart. Absolutely. I think that scares him enough to, it kind of shakes him. Wow.
Yeah.
The minute the puppets come out.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like, oh God, no. Maybe at least in Oliver's mind, right? He sees his future failure in Jerry Blau, and it wouldn't be the first time.
Splash.
Failure. Splash. Yeah, exactly. If anyone in the show is accused of murder, he's going to cover for them because he doesn't want his play to get shut down.
That's right.
He doesn't want it to be Kimber because Kimber's the only one who can really sing in the show. Sorry, Bobo.
How dare you say that in front of the camera?
I feel like there's cracks in the wall, and he's just trying to stop all the cracks at the same time.
Right, and there's like a flood coming in, and there's like little, just like,
yeah.
he's up to the knees right now.
It's not
water.
looking good.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, right.
Like, and something that I don't think we've ever really seen in Oliver before, the ferocity of which
Right.
he will defend anyone in his cast, especially Loretta.
Who maybe killed Ben.
And there's an amount of denial that has to happen, but
Yeah.
Oliver's no stranger to denial, I feel.
No, not at all. Now let's talk about Mabel.
Oh, gosh, she's a mess.
Mabel's a mess.
Mabel's losing everything. She's losing her apartment. She's lost her friends.
Right.
She's lost her job as a podcaster.
Right, and the only person that seems to be like, hey, come with me, kid, is Cinda fucking Canning.
Feels like she always pushes people away, but the two people she let in are off doing other things, falling in love and putting up Broadway shows, and they don't have time for the little pod that they built.
Right, their relationships and the play, and she's kind of like on a solo mission.
Yeah, her past relationships, like, you know, I think they really created a hard exterior shell for Mabel. And
Yeah.
Charles and Oliver were the only people in this world of hers that were able to crack it. And it's hard to lose her olds.
Oh, totally. And the fight at the end between the trio is so upsetting.
It's shattering.
Yeah.
I cried.
It's like when your parents fight. You don't want them to break up, and you want them to get back together, and it was very heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna figure out who did it, whether the two of you give a shit or not. I'm done.
What haunts you?
Oh, God.
Like in real life?
In real
Or-
life, we're going to
Oh
be real
my-
here for a second.
Let's
We
see,
can't
whoa.
just be the comic relief.
Let me say, okay, Filipinos are extremely superstitious people. And I, personally, have felt and seen ghosts in my real life.
Really?
But honestly, like, okay, there was one night, the theater that I perform at nightly on Broadway is one of the most haunted theaters on Broadway.
Really?
And there was one night where I was on stage with three people, just three of us, and I feel a hand on my shoulder, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, my scene partner normally doesn't do that, and I look over at him, and he is nowhere near me.
Yikes.
At least they didn't push you into the pit or anything.
That's true, that's true.
So that's good. They're nice ghosts.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I may every now and then be haunted by ghosts. I do believe in ghosts, for sure. I'm haunted by fear, I think. What are you haunted by?
Failure.
Well, guys, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not scary at all. But we've got to move on because it's time for one killer game. Some people think Gideon Gooseberry is a real ghost. Howard is one of them. Let's play Gideon Gooseberry's Ghost Stories. I'll start a story about Gideon, and then we're going to pass it along, campfire style. Ready? Thank you, Gideon.
Thank you, Gideon.
Thank you, Gideon.
For Gideon to leave this realm and find peace, he must
Find his daughter. His daughter was stolen away in an old costume trunk by the head wardrobe mistress because
She wanted to have a family of her own, but couldn't have a family of her own because she lacked so many.
eggs. So she took this girl, Lucy Gooseberry, put her in that trunk, and threw her in the ocean. And then she jumped in because she still wanted the kid. And
a great whale swallowed them up. I swear it sounds like Pinocchio, but it's not. And the whale
Moved his bowels around to separate the trunk from the evil wardrobe mistress until they were on either side of his rib cage, because he has that much control. Until finally,
Gideon Gooseberry swam through the whale's nostril and found his daughter.
hooray!
Hooray! Weird, good.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
For myself again. Oh.
Thanks, guys, so much for being here and playing these games. Can't wait to see you again sometime. But for now, see you next time on One Killer Question. And until then, try not to get haunted.
Yeah, so far in this episode, I have revealed the transmission dates for the Doctor Who 2007 Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned, Series 4, as well as the collection of 2009 specials between Series 4 and Series 5, followed by my review of Only Murders in the Building Series 3 Episode 6 and the One Killer Question from Series 3 Episode 6 of Only Murders in the Building. Next up, it's some Doctor Who news, and this was a tweet that was put out on Friday the 8th of September. Welcome to Who Spy. I'll be your very own spy on set during filming of Doctor Who. Keep your eyes peeled for more updates. In the last segment of this episode, before we get to this episode's feature, is a recast announcement. So, as you've known, the last two episodes, before this one, have been Neighbours focused, and I recorded them a couple of days ago, and then they announced this, like, a day after. And I was like, I'm not going to re-record all of that and add that at the end, so I'll just download the next episode. So this reads, with new episodes of Neighbours, which when this comes out you can go and watch them right now, with new episodes of Neighbours jumping 2 years ahead, our Nellie and Hugo have grown up too, introducing the wonderful Aisha Salantana and Tala Ellis and Anderson, who we know you will fall in love in just 2 weeks time, or right now. So yeah, that's it for that segment. It is now time for Find the So, like I said in the introduction of this episode Series 2, episode 58, if you watched Season 2, episode 51, that's when I introduced the feature Finder, which basically is a grid. So I'm going to, if you watch that episode, this will be a recap. If you haven't, you can join in. So what you need is a piece of paper, you will need a pencil or a pen, and you need to draw a grid going across the top A to G and across the bottom numbers 1 to 10. And what you need to do is I'm going to give you 5 different items that you need to find, that you need to fill with those boxes. So the theme for this week is Neighbours, obviously, because when you're seeing this, Neighbours has returned. Trevor the dog needs to fill 8 squares with 2 squares long and 4 squares wide. Second item is Byron Stone, who needs to be 2 squares long and 2 squares wide, a total of 4 squares. Holly Hoyland needs to be 1 square long and 1 square wide, a total of 2 squares. Leo Tanaka needs to be 3 squares long and 3 squares wide, a total of 9 squares. And Melanie Pearson needs to be 4 squares long and 4 squares wide, a total of 16 squares. So let's use an example. G1, let's say that is Holly Hoyland. So you put Holly Hoyland because that's only 1 square. I've already done mine. That's not my answer. Yes, so put it in there. So what you need to do, here's time for the Find the rules. So the theme changes every week, so the game resets every week. So if you, because the last week's theme was Doctor Who Series 2, because that's what we're covering, what we have been covering even, and that's, yeah, that's that. So as I said, there's 5 items to guess with different sides, which I've just gone to. The theme changes every week, the game resets every week, yeah, so don't worry about missing something, it restarts every week. My guesses will be revealed in the Find There segment, which will be revealed very shortly. If any of my guesses are correct, please comment hashtag find the hit if it's correct, or find the miss if it is incorrect, corresponding to which coordinate is a hit or a miss. Like me, you will get 5 guesses per week. When all your items have been guessed, like all of your squares, it's essentially like battleships. So if you've ever played battleships, if you hit 1 square, you don't lose that item. All of the squares had to be hit, so it's that kind of idea. When all of your items have been guessed, comment hashtag find that out, and you can comment your guesses in the comments on any video. So yes, just before we finish up, it's time for my Find the guesses this week. So my first guess is D2, my second guess is B7, my third guess is F8, my fourth guess is G10, and my final guess is C6. So yeah, just a reminder that you need to comment your guesses in the comments of any podcast episode. And that's actually it for the Everything Podcast, Season 2, Episode 58. So we'll be continuing with the Doctor Who reviews tomorrow, starting with the 2007 Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned. So that is it for the Everything Podcast, Season 2, Episode 58. Goodbye.